Hello and welcome to another update video about Bitcoin. So on the Bitcoin chart, the situation hasn't changed overnight. We still deal with a situation in which Bitcoin is holding above 43k. That's not a surprise, given that with that break above that level, it should really move a little further. Potentially to 50k to 65k into that region. I mentioned that in yesterday's video. Feel free to check out yesterday's video in which I took a detailed look here at the daily chart and explained it to you. But basically, yeah, this is the overview. Just a very quick recap. We're now either in the white count or the yellow one. In the white wave count, we are probably not going to see any substantial retracements until we really get to a new all-time high territory. Okay, so but even then, they might only be wave 4s. And in the yellow wave count, we are also very much able to push a little higher to 50k to 65k. Above 65,000, the white wave count will become much more likely. And the white wave count is the one that can take us to all-time highs and actually into the $100,000 region. Which one it is at the moment, we can't say for sure. We're tracking them both. They're both basically mirror counts. They move together. So it's just different. It's the same subdivision essentially. It's just that the yellow wave count will probably finish after one more high, which means we could get a small pullback here in this wave 4 at some point. We're going to take a look at that in a minute. And then one more high. And to be honest, that could be it then. Yeah. That could be it, but yeah, it's too early to say really if it's yellow or white. Okay, so the thing is, after one more high, after this shallow pullback, which should be in for white and yellow wave counts, we should get some clarity if it's yellow or white, and that will become clear in the next retracement then. Yeah, after this shallow one, okay, if we make one more high to around about 50,000, maybe to 65,000, if we get a pullback and it's holding a higher low, the support that I will give you for a wave 4, well, then we can continue in the white wave count, and the yellow one will become much less likely. But basically, these are the two scenarios we're dealing with. The yellow wave count will just make it much less certain, this chart. Okay, I mean, there are never certainties in the market anyway. All scenarios are for now bullish. Even the yellow wave count is bullish. The yellow wave count, however, can take a lot of different forms. So also in the yellow wave count, we could actually develop later a bearish scenario, which is why for all the bulls out there, the white one would be preferred. So what we will do, of course, going forward, we will track along the way very critically, very carefully, the relevant support levels as they come. And the next main support that we've got is, let's say, 34k. $34,000. That's the 50% retracement level. I don't really have any other support. Yes, we can take a look at micro support levels on the smaller time frames, but really, this is the key support box for a pullback that can occur here in this fourth wave. Yeah, it doesn't need to come down to 39,300. This is purely support. It's purely support. Yeah, this is what we need to understand. If I give you support areas for a pullback, it's support. Yeah, it's not the target. It's not that I'm saying the price will come down to 34,000. Pullbacks can be shallow. If they are deep, then there can be opportunities for a pullback trade, but you cannot determine the actual target for a pullback in advance. They are more to be understood simply as pullback zones, basically as support zones, and you cannot really determine the target of a correction until you already have the wave A in place and the wave B. Then you can calculate the target for the wave C. Had received a few questions. When do we get the next pullback? Well, that's impossible to say. What I've been doing over the last few weeks, I've been tracking micro support levels specifically for you. Most of them did hold. We had pullbacks into those zones. I've taken them off the chart, off the small term chart, but we only had an entry point support zone here in this area. Yeah, a couple actually. So we've literally only just had potential entry points. I mean, I can't tell you if you use our boxes for entries or not. Many people do, and I do so as well if it's the right thing for me to do. But those boxes can provide entries because they tell you the boundaries, right? And they can give you a stop and everything. So our charts are always self-guided, but I can't tell you when to enter because that's a personal decision. I can share with you, though, the areas where I believe the price is turning around based on the analysis. Well, not where I believe, but where the analysis tells us that the price should turn around. So we had a lot of pullbacks, and also here, even though they've been shallow, we've had support zones defined, okay? So literally, basically, nearly every day, I've been sharing support zones, okay? So there are pullbacks. They are just shallow. So we're trying to cater here for people operating on all sorts of time frames. Now, okay, so this is the micro chart, short-term chart, which I showed you already yesterday. The idea was obviously here that we are pushing higher, right? That we had this triangle. Oops, the wave 4 needs to sit here. Talked about that triangle. This was this triangle we talked about. At the end of the triangle, we had, for example, this pullback zone entry point. I think we actually had one here. Would need to double check that, but not so important right now. Not so important. I've literally run out of wave degrees. Maybe let's just raise this all by a degree so we can do some proper micro counting here. But literally in a third wave rally, it's not so important to really track the microstructure. It's more important to track the support levels. And support, as I said, is now at 34,000. Might be able to add for you, however, really a micro support level along the way. So it seems like we're now in wave 5 of this circle wave 3. Pullback could show at some point, but I mentioned it yesterday on Discord and Telegram, possibly not before we get to 45K. So I see this as another 1-2 setup. That might be another 1, 2, 3. There could be a small 4, 5. So probably this third is still in the making. Oops. Again, those micro counts, the risk is that you try to trade the smallest waves, which is typically not recommended in a third wave, okay? But I've mentioned that many times because then you get out too early, yeah? I guess there's no problem with partial profit taking, but that's why I mentioned I'm keeping a core position, keeping that HODL portfolio intact. Yeah, okay, so I can give you micro support. The thing is, I could give it from here. No, let's define this one. So yeah, so anybody is looking for a micro support, so it's 40,400. That means this box between 42,514 and 40,400, yeah, it's going to be micro support. So if we get a break below that level, it would indicate that circle wave 4 has started or a deeper pullback. But this imminent increase can continue as long as we're holding 40,400. So it gives you a much closer support area. Because, I'm not going to put that on the chart, but it seems like we had another 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this could be a small 4 and then 5. And then we should get another 4, 5. Okay, but again, that micro counting, again, just what's much more useful is just to track support, which we're doing here as well. Yeah, that's my update about Bitcoin. Hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.